Have you ever found yourself in that confusing space where you suspect the man you're with is emotionally, or even physically, involved with someone else? He might not say it outright. He might even deny it with every fiber of his being, but the truth has a way of seeping through the cracks. His body language, his choice of words, the energy he brings, they all tell a story. This isn't about feeding paranoia or seeing betrayal around every corner. It's about developing the emotional maturity and courage to see things for what they are. Let's be honest, the most blinding kind of ignorance is the one fueled by the fear of losing someone. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, "No, it can't be true. I must be overreacting. He's just stressed. Maybe I'm the one with the problem." But more often than not, that gut feeling, that deep, seated unease, is your heart picking up on a truth your mind isn't ready to accept. Your soul already knows, and then the words start to come, consciously or not. Phrases like, "I need some space. I just want to be alone for a while. It's not you, it's me. I'm so confused right now," or "I need to find myself again." These might sound like thoughtful, mature statements, but often they're just a smokescreen, a gentle way of letting you down while he's already moved on. He's no longer fully with you, and in many cases, he's already with someone else. Now, not every man who utters these words is cheating, but a significant number of men who are with another woman use these exact phrases. That's the crucial distinction. A man who genuinely loves you won't leave you in a state of confusion. A man who truly wants you won't put your relationship on an indefinite hold. A man who is committed to you doesn't pull away without a clear, honest reason. And a man who respects you won't play mind games when his heart has already checked out. You can feel the shift in the lengthening silences, the way his eyes avoid yours, the hollowness in a laugh that no longer syncs with your own. You notice it in the way his phone has suddenly become a fortress, more important than the words coming out of your mouth. Suddenly, his time, his interest, his small gestures of affection have vanished, and you're left wondering, when did everything change? When you ask, he'll likely say, "Nothing's wrong," but you know something is. He won't admit it because that would mean facing the end, and he's not ready to give up the comfort and stability you provide. He wants to keep you in his life, but only partially, while his heart and attention are chasing a new thrill elsewhere. He's secretly comparing, lying to himself, and in the process, he's dimming your light. This is when you might find yourself trying harder. You try to be more fun, more understanding. You tiptoe around conflicts and forgive behaviors you would have never tolerated before. You start justifying the unjustifiable, all driven by a deep, seated fear. The fear of losing him, the fear of being alone, the fear of having your worst suspicions confirmed. But here's a truth you need to hear, my dear friend. When someone starts to leave, they are, in many ways, already gone. He might still be sleeping next to you, his kisses might be mechanical, and his "I love you" might be a reflex born of habit, but the emotional core is gone. You deserve so much more than lukewarm love. You don't deserve a love born of pity, routine, or convenience. You deserve a love that is brave, a love that shows up fully, clearly, and wholeheartedly. You deserve someone who doesn't have to second guess his desire to be with you, someone who doesn't need time to find something you've already offered him so freely. Every time you hear those phrases, "I need space," "I don't know what I want," and you make an excuse for him, you drift a little further from yourself. You betray your own intuition. You make yourself smaller to fit into a space he's already vacating. And I want to tell you something that maybe no one else has today. You are worth so much more than what you are currently accepting. You are not meant to be a placeholder, an option on a shelf. You are not here to beg for attention or to decipher the meaning of someone's absence. You are here to be chosen with love and without hesitation, If a man is already entangled with someone else, you'll know it not just by what he says, but by what he stops saying. Not by his actions, but by his inactions. You'll know it by the way his soul no longer seems to connect with yours. Don't look for a smoking gun. Instead, listen to that inner voice. Observe with clarity, not paranoia. Your intuition isn't a sign of madness. It's a wisdom shaped by love and, yes, by pain. If these words are resonating with you, perhaps it's time to pause. It's time to stop chasing someone who is already walking a different path. It's time to stop waiting for answers in a vast expanse of silence. It's time to close the door with dignity before it's slammed in your face. Because when a man resorts to these evasive phrases, when he confuses and tangles you in his uncertainty, it's often because he has already made a decision. And that gives you every right to make one of your own. Remember, being alone is not a failure, but being with someone who makes you feel alone. That is, sometimes it's not the words themselves, but the delivery. The coldness behind each syllable, the emotional numbness, the palpable distance. When someone truly loves you, you can feel that love, even in the midst of a crisis. But when his heart is with another woman, he starts to become an empty vessel in your presence. His gestures, his intentions, his meaningful words, they all drain away, and in turn, he begins to drain you. You feel profoundly alone, even when he's sitting right next to you. And that, my dear, is one of the most agonizing forms of loneliness there is. It's like screaming in an empty house, like knocking on a door that will never open again. I want you to whisper this to yourself if you can. I do not deserve to be with someone who doesn't even want to be here. Sometimes the physical body remains long after the soul has departed. He's there, but his spirit is gone. It's like having a ghost for a partner. The hands that once touched you with tenderness now brush against you with indifference. The person who once craved your presence, held you and protected you, now barely seems to notice you exist. He says nothing, acknowledges nothing, but you know. Some truths aren't spoken. They are felt in the chilling silence, the growing distance, the pervasive coldness. I'm confused. I'm going through a tough time. I don't want to talk about it right now. And just like that, the trap is set. Suddenly, you're thrust into the role of an emotional detective. You find yourself scrutinizing his phone, wondering about the true nature of his relationship with that coworker. You're living in a constant state of high alert, consumed by fear and doubt. That isn't love, it's anxiety. Healthy love doesn't make you fearful. It doesn't erode your self-worth. It doesn't force you into a silent competition. It doesn't leave you questioning your adequacy every single day. When a man is involved with another woman, you'll feel it not just in the physical distance, but in the absence of a deeper desire for you. I'm not just talking about physical intimacy. I'm talking about the desire to see you, to hear about your day, to know how you're truly feeling, to offer comfort when you're hurting. When all of that vanishes, leaving behind only a cold silence, empty words, and a string of excuses, his heart has already found a new home. He might even still believe he loves you, but he's caught in a web of his own making, torn between guilt and the intoxicating thrill of something new. The new feels exciting, entertaining, a welcome distraction. You, on the other hand, are not new, but that doesn't mean you're worth less. It simply means he no longer recognizes the value of depth, because depth requires courage. Depth can be uncomfortable. It demands presence and a real, unwavering commitment. And if he's incapable of offering that, then you aren't losing anything. You are saving yourself. Don't try to resuscitate a relationship that exists only in your memories. Don't try to breathe life into a love that has been deprived of oxygen. Don't stay planted in soil where you can no longer bloom. You were not born to beg for love or to plead for attention. You are here to be loved consciously, freely, and with a full and present heart. And if he is already with someone else, be grateful for the clarity, however painful it may be. A painful truth is always better than a lifetime built on a comfortable lie. A woman who truly loves herself doesn't settle for maybe. She doesn't linger in uncertainty. She doesn't put her life on pause, waiting to be chosen. You are not here to wait. You are here to live your life with dignity, self-love, and courage. And if it hurts right now, then cry. Cry until you have no tears left. But don't stay stuck in that pain, because on the other side of this heartache lies your freedom. And that freedom, though it may sting at first, is the very medicine your soul needs. Do you know what the worst thing you could do is? To wait for him to change, to hope he'll magically revert to the man he once was, to try and piece together something that is already shattered beyond repair. Please, my love, don't do that to yourself. Don't destroy yourself trying to save something he is actively tearing apart. Don't contort yourself to fit into a heart that has already found a new shape. Because even if he does come back, if he hasn't fundamentally changed, he will only hurt you again. Remember this: excuses are not love, absence is not love, confusion is not love. Real love shows up. It is felt, it is lived, and if you're not feeling it, don't settle for guessing. You deserve a love that is clear and unwavering, a love that doesn't run and hide behind vague words. You deserve an "I love you" without hesitation, and "I want to be with you" that is proven through actions, and an "I'm here" that actually means something. If you feel in your gut that he's with another woman, even if he denies it, even if he looks you in the eyes and swears it isn't true, trust what you feel. You don't need concrete proof. You don't need external confirmation. You don't need a tearful confession. Your intuition already knows the truth. When someone no longer wants to be with you, they don't always have the courage to say it directly. Sometimes they pretend everything is fine, but deep down, they've already packed their emotional bags and left. And that is the cruelest part. His physical presence lingers long after his soul has gone. He might be with another woman, but hasn't left you yet because you are his safe harbor, his emotional comfort zone that he can fall back on while he explores new waters. And that hurts because you're reduced to a shadow of yourself, an option, not a choice. A man who has already chosen someone else will start to justify his altered behavior with vague phrases. "I just don't feel the same anymore. I need to figure things out. I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship." But he's ready enough to send secret messages, to meet someone else while you're left in a state of suspended animation. It's a difficult truth to voice, but it's even harder to live inside a lie, to hold on to something that has no foundation. You must always remember this. You are not here to wait for someone to sort out their confusion while you slowly unravel trying to understand them. When someone has emotionally checked out of a relationship, everything they say is just a way to delay the inevitable, a tactic to avoid being seen as the bad guy. But in doing so, he traps you in a half-truth, and you don't deserve half-truths. You deserve the whole truth, no matter how much it stings, because a painful truth is infinitely healthier than a sweet lie. And do you know how you'll know he's already with someone else, even without him saying a word? It's in his emotional absence, his growing impatience. It's in the way he gets irritated by the smallest things, the way he no longer listens with genuine interest. It's in the way he forgets the little details that matter to you, the way he becomes careless with the things he used to cherish. And above all, it's in the way he looks at you without really seeing you, with an emotional distance disguised as routine. And you feel it, of course you do, but you might not ask the questions, or if you do, he masterfully evades them. And you fall silent, because on some level you already know the answer. and you're not ready to hear it spoken aloud. But you must find the courage. You must find the strength to say, if you're not here anymore, tell me. If you're already with someone else, don't hold on to me. If your heart is somewhere else, don't leave me in a place where there's no longer room for me. Sometimes it's not a question of whether he loves you, but whether he has the courage to be honest. And not everyone possesses that courage. Many would rather keep you as a comfortable option than risk losing you completely. And so you stay, hoping he'll return to the man he used to be. But that version of him is gone. He changed, and it wasn't by accident. It was a choice. The moment someone starts entertaining thoughts of another person, starts dreaming of someone else, starts allowing feelings for another to grow, they are making a conscious decision to move away from you. Even if he never admits it, you don't need a confession to know you're no longer in his heart. The tone he uses, the lack of interest, the missing excitement, the way everything about you suddenly seems to bother him, that's all the evidence you need. You are not the problem. You never were. He's simply no longer there. Sometimes there are no clear villains, only painful realities. But that doesn't mean you have to remain a character in an empty story. You're not obligated to hold on to something he has already let go of. You don't have to stay loyal to a memory. Memories don't build a present, let alone a future. Stop clinging to a maybe. Stop torturing yourself while you wait for explanations that will never come. Don't postpone your dignity out of fear of ending a chapter. He may have 1,000 reasons, but none of them justify treating you like an emotional afterthought. No excuse, no matter how sweetly worded, can compensate for a lack of honesty. And if he has chosen someone else, then now is your time to choose yourself. Even if it hurts, even if it feels like a defeat, even if it feels like the air is being squeezed from your lungs, this is not the end. It is the beginning of something new, something healthier, something that truly includes you. There are moments when a subtle shift occurs and you feel it in your bones. Even if you can't articulate it, you just know that things are not the same. It might be a look, a gesture, or a prolonged silence. The tone of his words changes, his replies become delayed, his interest waxes and wanes, the excuses start to outnumber the hugs. And that is your sign. It's not just what he says, but what he no longer says. It's how he pulls away without ever taking a step. And then come the classic lines, I'm tired, I don't want to talk right now, you're overreacting, I don't want to fight, I have too much stress at work. And yes, sometimes these things are true. But when it becomes a recurring pattern, when the desire to share the good and the bad evaporates, when your feelings become a burden to him, then he is already elsewhere emotionally and sometimes physically as well. Because yes, many men are already with another woman but won't say it. Not out of respect for you, but out of convenience for themselves. They want to taste the new without letting go of the familiar. And you're caught in the transition, becoming the bridge between what was and what will never be again. I saw this happen to a woman who wrote to me not long ago. Her name was Clara. She was 32 and had been with Julian for 5 years. Their relationship seemed solid. They traveled, they laughed, they made plans for the future. But one day, the ground began to shift beneath her feet. Julian started coming home later from work. He stopped sending his usual texts during the day. He avoided video calls when he was away on business. When Clara asked if something was wrong, he always had the same dismissive reply, "You're being too sensitive, everything's fine, I'm just tired. Please don't make a drama out of it." Clara began to doubt herself. She spent more time scrutinizing her reflection in the mirror. She tried harder to please him, cooking his favorite meals, leaving him little notes, suggesting they go out. But he only grew colder, more distant. Then one day, she happened to glance at his phone and saw a notification from a woman she didn't know. The message was short but clear. I can't wait to see you again. She didn't confront him that night. But the next day, with a tremor in her voice, she asked, "Are you with someone else?" Julian paused for a moment, then said, "No, but I think I need some time. I don't feel the same way about you anymore." And there it was, the one phrase that changes everything. It doesn't spell out the whole truth, but it says enough. Clara didn't scream. She didn't cry in front of him. She simply nodded and left. Later, she wrote to me, "I felt shattered, but also strangely free, because I finally understood that I wasn't the one who had lost something. He was. He let go of my loyalty, my love, my truth, something he'll never find again." Clara never went back to him, and with time, like so many women in her position, she blossomed again. Wounded, yes, but with her dignity intact. Her story is not unique. It's a scenario that plays out every single day, because many people lack the courage to admit they no longer love someone, but they are perfectly willing to inflict pain through their silence. To stay in a relationship without love is to lie with your very presence, and no one deserves to be lied to in that way. No one deserves to be a part of a relationship where the other person is already writing a new story with a different protagonist. No one deserves a ghost relationship. True love doesn't hide. It doesn't run from conversations about commitment. It doesn't retreat behind a wall of excuses. True love stays, it chooses you, it cares. So if you're going through something similar to what Clara experienced, don't silence your intuition. Don't ignore the signs. Don't make excuses for him, because someone who stays out of pity doesn't love you. Someone who stays out of habit doesn't choose you. And someone who truly loves you doesn't leave you in a state of confusion. Love is not a riddle. It's not a late-night mental puzzle. Love shouldn't be a source of daily pain. And if it is, then it's time to ask yourself one crucial question: where am I in this story? If the answer is, "I'm waiting for him to decide," then it's time for you to make a decision for yourself, because you deserve more, so much more. Sometimes you don't need proof. You just need to trust yourself. There are moments when the bravest thing you can do is to stop asking questions, to stop hoping, to stop searching for signs, and to simply accept what is already painfully clear. Because when someone changes emotionally, when they try to pretend that everything is the same, there's one thing they can't hide: their eyes. The way they look at you, the way they stop touching you with affection, the way they no longer truly listen. All of that is a language in itself. A language without words, but a language nonetheless. And if you're not careful, you'll get stuck in a cycle of self-blame. You'll convince yourself that everything would be fine if only you were more understanding, less intense, more relaxed. But that's a lie. Because when someone has already emotionally detached, there is nothing you can do to hold the connection together. That connection no longer exists. And yes, it hurts, of course, it hurts. It hurts to realize there's no going back, that what you had will never be again. It hurts to know that the man who once told you that you were his everything is now likely saying those very same words to someone else. Sometimes, that's the most painful part, knowing that the intimate words he once reserved for you are now being shared with another, as if they never held any real weight, as if you were just an emotional trial run, but you weren't. You were not a mistake, not a stepping stone, not a temporary phase. You were someone who loved with authenticity, and that is never insignificant. Even if he didn't appreciate it, even if he left without a word, even if he's now with someone else, pretending that what you shared was never real, none of that can erase your truth, your capacity to love, your devotion, your humanity. The problem wasn't the love you gave. The problem was holding on to a love that was no longer being returned, a love that was suffocating in a sea of indifference. I know how hard it is to let go, Sometimes it hurts more to let go of an almost than a clear-cut ending, because an almost feels like a missed opportunity, a broken promise, a hug that was cut short. But no one can build a life on broken promises. No one can thrive in the absence of love. No one can bloom in an emotional desert. And when he starts using those typical phrases as a shield, I'm confused. I need to find myself. I just want to be alone. While you know he's already talking to, seeing and dreaming of someone else, that's not confusion. That's a decision. He just doesn't say it because he doesn't want to be held responsible for your pain. He doesn't want to confront his own cowardice. He doesn't want to give up the comfort you still provide. And so you wait, hoping he'll come back, hoping the novelty of the new person will wear off, hoping he'll realize what he had with you. But that is an act of self-sabotage. If you're hoping someone will return to you out of exhaustion or failure, you're accepting the role of Plan B. And that's not who you are. That's never who you were meant to be. Sometimes, it's better to close the door yourself than to sit in front of it, waiting for someone to return who has already walked away and shut it behind them. And no, that's not pride, that's dignity. Pride wounds, but dignity protects. Dignity is the boundary that keeps you from returning to places where you were hurt. It's that inner voice that says, that's enough. You gave it your all. Now it's time to gather the pieces of yourself and rebuild. It's not your fault if he no longer chooses you. It's not your fault if he prefers something new over something deep. It's not your fault if he couldn't recognize the value of what he was holding. You did your part, and that is enough. Now it's time to let go. Not so he'll come back, but so you can come back to yourself. So you can find your center again. So you can face the future without fear, without resentment, without the invisible chains of a past love. Because no one deserves to have their heart broken and then be expected to carry the pieces in silence. You have the right to heal, the right to end the cycle, even without all the answers. You have the right to move forward without fully understanding why he's no longer there. And once you do, you'll realize that this pain was a part of your transformation, not your defeat. There's something no one ever teaches us: how to let go of someone you still love, how to release something that still has a hold on you, even when you know it's no longer good for you. And it's not always because the love is gone. Sometimes love is still there, but it's simply not enough. A relationship requires more than just love. It needs honesty, presence, commitment, and reciprocity. And if he's already with someone else, the relationship is over, no matter how much love you still feel. You can't love for two. You can't build a future on his absence. You can't carry the weight of the story alone. It takes immense strength to say, I love you, but I won't stay where I'm being hurt. I love you, but I won't stay where I'm no longer chosen. I love you, but I love myself more. That's not selfishness. That's emotional health. That's maturity. Because if someone is already emotionally somewhere else and you feel it, and you still stay, you're putting yourself last. And no one who truly loves themselves should ever be at the bottom of their own priority list. You might be asking yourself, how do I move on? How do I let go of something that meant so much to me? I understand. It's not easy. But the moment will come when you realize that the pain of waiting hurts more than the pain of the truth. And that's when the shift begins. Not when he confesses, not when you catch him in a lie, but when you stop making excuses for him. When you stop telling yourself, he's just confused, he needs time, he'll come around, and instead start saying, he doesn't love me the way he used to. I'm no longer a central part of his life. He's already made his decision, even if he won't admit it. That is a painful but powerful moment of awakening. A part of you that has been silenced by fear begins to stir, ready to rebuild from the wreckage. And that's where your new beginning starts. It won't be a loud, dramatic event. It won't be about revenge. It will be a quiet, internal shift. From your center, from a place of calm, from a place where you no longer need him to breathe. There's a quote by Haruki Murakami that captures this perfectly. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure, in fact, whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain. When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what this storm's all about. And that is exactly what you are going through right now, a storm. But it is not the end of your world. It is the beginning of your transformation. You will get through this. You may have scars, but you will be stronger, clearer, and more deeply rooted in yourself. And that is what truly matters. Returning to you, to your center, to your voice. You no longer need to understand why he chose someone else. That is a part of his path, his shadow, his story. It has nothing to do with your worth, but with what he couldn't hold, what he didn't want to face, with the parts of himself he still lacked the courage to confront. It is not your job to heal him, to wait for him, or to convince him of your value. Whoever doesn't see your light doesn't deserve to walk beside you. And someone who has already chosen a different story is no longer a part of yours. Now, all that remains is to look forward, not to forget, not to deny what you felt, but to honor what you gave and to close this chapter with love without ever looking back. Because to go back would be to betray yourself. And you have already given too much, cried too much, and waited longer than you ever should have. It's time to close the door, not with anger, not with hate, but with peace. Because even the experiences that weren't meant to be can still teach us, free us, and ultimately heal us. There comes a point when it's no longer about him, it's about you. It's about what you are willing to accept, what you are willing to allow, and what you are willing to carry. Because if someone starts to silently let go of you, you have every right to consciously let go of them. That is the essence of emotional maturity. You don't need him to admit he's with someone else in order to begin your healing process. You just need to stop lying to yourself. The truth doesn't always come in the form of words. Sometimes it's revealed through behavior, through the emptiness, through that subtle shift you first ignored and later couldn't unsee. And somewhere in the middle of it all, you have to make a choice. Will you keep waiting, or will you take a step toward yourself, toward inner peace? Because yes, love should bring peace. Not fear, not restlessness, not sleepless nights spent wondering why his texts have become shorter, why you're constantly checking his social media for clues, why you're living in a perpetual state of doubt, suspicion, and disappointment. If this is your reality, something is wrong. And you know it, even if you pretend otherwise, even if you downplay it to your friends, even if you're still clinging to the hope that it's just a phase. But it's not. When someone is already connected to another woman while still being with you, it manifests most clearly as indifference. That feeling that the connection has been severed, that you're speaking to someone who is only replying out of obligation. His body is present, but his energy is somewhere else entirely. And it's draining because you're trying to hold together something that has lost its foundation. You feel like everything depends on you, but you can't carry a relationship alone, especially one that, for all intents and purposes, no longer exists. And yes, it hurts far more than many people can understand. This isn't a simple breakup. It's like an invisible death, a silent disappearance, a departure without the packed suitcases. And yet, you stay, trying to save it, trying to bring him back, even though he's not even sure he wants to return. And in that process, you lose yourself, you fade, you erase parts of who you are, and no one is worth erasing yourself for. That's not love if it costs you your self-worth. That's not love if it steals your smile. That's not love if it leaves you feeling empty. A healthy relationship should support you, help you bloom, and connect you to the best version of yourself. And when that dynamic breaks, when he's already emotionally with someone else, you'll feel it in the way you forget who you are. You don't laugh as freely. You don't dream as big. You no longer feel alive, creative, or open. And that's not a coincidence. Emotional pain is draining. And when you're living in a constant state of waiting, your soul begins to freeze over. But you were not born into this world to wait at a door that someone refuses to open. You are not here to be given a maybe, while he wavers between you and someone else. You are not a dilemma. You are not a second option. You are a certainty for someone who is ready to receive you. Maybe today you feel powerless. Maybe you think you'll never get through this. Maybe even the simple act of breathing hurts. And that's okay.